Mamish reordered the whole Sikha. As I said, in my years of working, I never did something like that. Here and there, he would edit sometimes, he'd move pieces, move the paragraph, but here the Rebbe completely reorganized the whole Sikha. The Rebbe edited it also, but he didn't change the ideas, he just reordered it. And the Rebbe made like this, that the Sikha should begin, we're now in the month of El, Anil Deidi V'Deidi. Rosh Hashanah Anil Deidi. Anil Deidi is Mamata L'mayla. I to my beloved. Eden start the Aveda from the bottom up. And the Eibishter responds, Asusa Delela, after the Asusa L'Tata, V'Deidi Aveda Mamayla L'Mata. That's El. And they both come together in one word. Because you need both. The Maila V'Matla Maila is that it's more Lefi, the Kalim. It's more integrated within each of us. The Maila V'Maila Mata, it's more Lakush, more Gili. You need both. And in El itself, talks about the different Rosh Tevis, Teva, Tefillah, Staka, Mils Chasadim, Tshuva, Geula. And then the Rebbe said, in El itself, this Shabbos is Chayel. Chayel is the birthday of the two Meidus Agdel, Baal Shem Tov and the Alter Rebbe. Baal Shem Tov was Mamayla Lamata. Baal Shem's Kemevsim. Baal Shem's Kemaisis. You know, the Baal Shem Tov, we know, did things that were like miraculous. Alter Rebbe was Mamata Lamayla. Chabad. Everything's Beslapshus and Chochmah Bin Hadas and Seichel and Tachtenim. So the whole theme of El, this is the Rebbe's structure here. This is the order. The whole theme of El, Anila Deidi is the Alter Rebbe, and the Deidi Li is like the Baal Shem Tov. Very nice. And the Rebbe continues and says, Al Pizeh, that Mefashtain, according to this, we'll understand the strange story that happened on Chayel, Tafresh, Tzadik Zayin, Tafresh Rum days. And then the rest of it goes, such a strange story, but now we can understand why. Because even though Chabad is B'chal Mamatla Mailam, we don't koch zechem mefsim, but that doesn't mean there are no mefsim. It just means we don't koch zechem. So once in all of history, we're reminded that the truth is all Chabad is also L'maylam B'derech HaTeva. But then it's B'slapshus. That doesn't make it less of a mefis. It just means it's more concealed. So this one story, Tafresh Rum Beis, that Rebbe Rashab said it in an open way to show, don't think that Chabad is concealing the miracles of the Baal Shem Tov, it's just mostly Hislapshus. That was more or less the Rebbe's answer. So I'm telling this for obviously a number of reasons. Firstly, it's Chayel. Secondly, you probably never heard this part of the story. The Rebbe himself structuring the Sikha. And obviously there are a lot more details. Another interesting thing I'll point out is when the Rebbe gave out the edits on the Sikha, he also gave out another Hanocha that was never known before from Tafresh Tzadik Zayin. And it had more pieces that we ever had. So we added it in the Sikha. Another person wrote down, some say it's the Rebbe himself, we're not sure, but the Hanocha had more pieces than the original, what we always had from Tafresh Tzadik Zayin. The Rebbe gave it to us to add in the footnotes, so we added a few pieces. Just for the record, even the Chassid, the Rebbe also explained. That's why it says Chassid, because Chassid creates also a Tshuka Mamat L'mayla. When something's missing, you're going to work harder to try to fill it in. That's why B'Hashgacha Pratis, there's a Chassid in the Hanachas. Anyway, I thought it was quite fascinating then, and I feel the same today. But this is just the interesting parts of it. You probably also know that in Tovshin Tezvov, famous Purim, when the Rebbe said that whoever wants to be rich should raise their hands. And I wasn't there, I wasn't even born yet. Not that stops from some people telling stories as if they were there, even though they weren't born. But I'm not one of them. So, but we know the stories was that the Rebbe then said exactly that, and very few people raised their hands actually. Those that did, they say they became rich. And the Rebbe said, I'm a private Chabad Kashtik, You know, when people are always writing and Bislayim, they're always complaining about Parnasa. Here's an opportunity, it's not. Anyway, some say, I don't know if this is a joke or serious, some say people raise their hands under the table. So you get past the public. So they made money under the table, that's what they say. And some didn't even make that. Okay? Yeah. Now, what is less known, maybe some of you are aware of it, I'm just connected to this, is that at the time, we also was revealed letters and exchange of correspondence between the Rebbe and the Frierdiker Rebbe. I don't want to call it a vekuach, a debate, but it was a little disagreement, if you can call it that. But the Rebbe was demanding from the Frierdiker Rebbe that because everything Yidden went through, it's time that we need Meifsim. So even though it's taken out derech Chabad, but now it should be more, remember, it's 655. Like now it's 10 years after the war and the Holocaust. And the Rebbe was pushing, the Frierdiker Rebbe insisted, no, it's not the derech of Chabad. We have today the correspondence. You've seen these letters. It's quite fascinating. Huh? As well. No, it's this guy I said that. Oh, it's in the shins. It's printed today. Yeah. I don't remember the exact dates. It says, what was this guy? Because for some reason, maybe because of Purim, maybe that's why I found these letters. Anyway, today it's printed in English, you can find it all. And it's rare because you usually don't find, so to speak, these two opinions. I heard that Tafshin Tes was before the Stalkus, of course, Shvat. The Rebbe called in a few Askonim. Zalman Gedali was one of them, and a few others. And he said that he wants to tell them, Be'efan Baru, that even though it's not known, but now it's a Eis Ratzon, they should go into the Frierdiker Rebbe and demand Meifsim and Yoni Parnasa and Yoni Gashmi. And he said to them that even if the Shver, the Frierdiker Rebbe, says no, they should not take no for an answer, a Rebbe Muzgeb. They should insist. Unfortunately, due to the health of the Frierdiker Rebbe, so they couldn't go in, they didn't have the opportunity. But after the Stalkus, I don't know how long, maybe a year later or half a year later, so the same Askanim decided to go into the Rebbe. And they said they heard from Mokum Musmach, from a reliable source, that's an Eis Ratzon, one from them, and even if the Rebbe says no, they should break down the door and insist. Obviously, the Rebbe knew who they were talking about. You know, like the Rebbe says, Lo yoda v'yoda, like, you ask someone a question, then you pass it on yourself. The Rebbe became very serious and said, Jetzt gucken wir mit andere Augen. Now we look at the andere Augen, other eyes. However you explain it. But the point is that clearly there is this, if you want, tension, so to speak, between on one hand, he can make every mefus he wants. And Liah Kesef, Liah Zov, he has all the money in the world. So not just Ellison from, Larry Ellison from Oracle, but everyone here, why shouldn't they be worth $380 billion overnight? We wouldn't mind if it's three. Now people are not going to be bashful, yeah? Yeah. And we don't mind if it's 380 million either, right? Or 38 million. Anyway, we never know, Achsidus Farbrengen, was Achsidus Farbrengen can Uftan, Ussi Chayel, a viele Malach von Chol can Uftan. So it's not a joke. Maybe if you take this hele Chaim full heart, you never know when the doors from heaven open up and shower everyone with all the brachas, like Sivik Simateva, the Gashmis, the Beruchnis, Barchove, One Chayim, Zeni Yivicha. L'chaim, l'chaim. Let's sing Anigan. Yeah. L'chaim, l'chaim, l'chaim. So great minds think alike. Said to sing a niggun, I was thinking of starting the niggun that and Abganelli began. I'll tell you why. My Shved, Hesker Gansberg, Big Malmanagin, part of Necheach, and he would start in Nigunim. Shmuel Zalmanov was the Managin in Lubavitch for many years. When he went to Israel, I think in Tavshin Chavez or Gechel Gimel. So then Rabbi Yael began singing the first song in the Farbrengen, and my Shmuel would start the other Nigunim. But in the early years, they would alternate. My Shmuel told me that when they sang this niggun that we just sang, that Rebbe would cry uncontrollably every time. Obviously, we didn't know why, but clearly it had a very deep impact. So they decided to not sing it anymore because it was like very, it was clearly, triggering is the word they use today. Yeah, trigger and trauma go together, right? I want to use those words on the Rebbe, but so it's a niggun I always keep in mind. My Shver told me that every time the Rebbe does a distractions. So yeah. When my Shver passed away, actually, it was around I think 19 years ago. So we found in his so-called archives in a box, we found his Shimas. He wrote Yaman all the way from the early years. He came in Tafshin Zayin to New York from Tel Aviv. Came with his two Chaverim, Rav Goldschmidt and Rav Dubinsky, who just passed away, Motel Dubinsky. Three Bochim. So he started writing your Yaman already in Tafshin Zayin, and then in Tafshin Yud, your Aleph, a lot of fascinating stuff that was never printed in Yemei Bereshis, but really, so we printed it in a book. We called it Zuhusei Shal Chassid, Portrait of a Chassid. So it's original in Hebrew, but also we translated it into English. Just mentioning it in case you want a good read. Some really powerful stuff there. So, going back to Chayel, so since we're among friends, we can talk bluntly here, right?
Yeah.
Without gloves?
100%.
Yeah?
100%.
Good.
Crush your boat.
So, many types of Farbrengens out there. You can tell stories and Divrei Sederis and interesting stuff. But as we all know, that Rebbe's main underscoring or emphasis was always that it should remain Dvarim B'Teilim, and that should be a nafkamina lepel. So even though that usually comes at the end of a Farbrengen, but I thought, being that it's Chayel, at the birthday of the Baal Shem Tov and the Alter Rebbe, almost 300 years now, 280 years the Alter Rebbe, a little more than that after the Baal Shem Tov. So I think it's I'm not a businessman per se, but I know that Business 101 tells you that from time to time you have to make an accounting, call it audit. Now, where we stand exactly. Chassidus has been taught now for 7 generations. For the Baal Shem Tov, it's 9 generations. Like approximately 300 years, 3 centuries. And we were told that the Baal Shem Tov went for Mashiach, Tav Kuv Zayin, Rosh Hashanah, that Emasai Kosimar, the Kishyafutzim Einasach Chutz. And this became the motto and basically the mission statement of Chassidus, and especially Chassidus Chabad, never changed. Magid, Alter Rebbe, Mittler Rebbe, Tzemach Tzedek, Rebbe Marash, Rebbe Rashab, Frierdiker Rebbe the Rebbe. You're impressed? I know them all by heart. I wasn't chayes after. So, Yifutzim and Nesecha Chutza. And the Rebbe made it very clear that Chutza doesn't just mean Meichin to be this, as the Tzemach Tzedek explains in Tehillim, Yaleh. And it doesn't just mean from 770 to Kingston Avenue. No, I'm sorry. That would be nice, right? But he said all that as for sure. And it means Chutza Shein Chutza Meimenu, which means there's nothing off limits. It means it has to reach every corner of the earth. So if we were responsible individuals, and we were charged with this mission, and we were, because if it's not us, exactly who? As Mechabed Dog, we said the dignitaries have arrived. Asi Espigo, a dignitary straight from Eretz Yisrael.
From Iran.
Miranach in Akedah. The closest thing we'll get to a diplomat from. So, being that we were charged with this responsibility, and it's not my own words, it's the Rebbe's words. Everybody knows Chav Ches Nissen 2000. So I think it's appropriate, and tell me if you disagree, that Chayel, the Yemeledes of the two Shnei Maris Agdelim, the Meyasid of Chassidus Klolis and the Meyasid of Chassidus Chabad, to make a shtickle audit and accounting. So where do we stand exactly in this Yifutzim and Nesecha Chutza venture? Now, I think about this all the time, because the work I do, and it's also what I heard literally every Farbrengen, every Sikha. At the end of the day, it came down to that, because that's the way to bring Mashiach. It's not like a mystery. That's what Mashiach said. So obviously there are many details and many ways. It's not one way. So I thought I'd go over that, and you tell me what you think. So there are Chabadniks, maybe some among you, that think we did everything. We did the job, and now we're just waiting for the Gili of Mashiach. And we could just be comfortable, because the Rebbe said the Birurim are finished. So what else is there to do? There are others, we call them more cynical, I guess, and skeptical, and say, hey, you know what? If we didn't do it till now, who says we're going to do it now? Mashiach didn't come 31 years ago. 33 years ago, what else is going to happen exactly? You know, they say insanity is doing the same thing and expecting different results. So what are you expecting? We're simple people. We're not really that capable. Yeah, we'll try our best. We'll bring up our children, our grandchildren in the spirit. We'll have a picture of the Rebbe on the wall, we'll sing some Nevunim. And it'll happen when it happens. I'm not going to go through every variation of every shit out there. But I remember whenever I was in 770, and Motel Chaim, Olav Shalom, and he would see me, always we had the same conversation. He came over to me, he said, "Du fährst doch herum die ganze Welt. You travel around the world, so you see how the Rebbe schneidet um die ganze Welt. The Rebbe conquered the whole world." And I said, "Where do you see it exactly?" He said, "Look, in every taxi in Israel there's a picture of the Rebbe, in falafel shops and shawarma shops." And he gave me a few other examples like this. So I didn't want to burst his bubble and throw any cold water. I ate this Besedris and he feels the world was conquered. What should I say? So I decided, I said to him, "What would you ever hear of a speaking Yiddish? Stamol gehet von einer Medina, was says Sin, a country called China." "Yeah." He says, "Do you know how many people live in China?" I said, "No." So I said, "Around 1.7 billion. Maybe now it's more." He said, "Billion?" I said, "Yeah, billion, nicht million, not million, billion." I said, "How many Chinese know about the Rebbe and Chassidus? Futzma Yisrael Chutza." She said, "Oh, the claim of Gelach and Ezra, was machst du für sie ganze Zimmers?" So he said, "The small little I don't want to say it for the record, but it could be. You have people watching for racism in the show. Okay. Anyway, this small little yellow Chinese, what are you making a big simsa? Okay, fine. They dismissed 1.8 billion, 7 billion. I said, you ever hear of a country called India? Indiana, but Chinala is behind Indiana. We already killed all the Indians. I said, I don't mean the Indians in the United States. It's a country called Hindu at Kush, India. So I promise you. I say it with love, by the way. If he was a Chassidish, then he meant well. But like he said, he didn't really travel the world that much. And he said, you mean those that do the customer service for Dell? I said, no, that's the Pakistan. The ones that drive the Ubers. Anyway, so he dismissed basically how many people in Hindu in India? I said around 1.5 billion. I think now it's a lot more. So there we go, around half the world is dismissed. So I said, I don't know, what I see when I travel the world is that I don't think we've really fully conquered the world. I know we like to compare Chabad to Coca-Cola, and now people probably compare it to Amazon and Apple and Microsoft and NVIDIA and now Oracle and Google, and Facebook, etc. Meta, whatever all the names, Alphabet. I do read a little Chachos from time to time. Let's put it this way. If I was in the business, we're not even a close competitor to those companies I just said, which reach billions of people, not millions, billions. So whenever I say this, people say, because they verkaufen phones, internet. We have the MS. MS is not so popular. If any of you feel that way, we can discuss it later. I just absolutely disagree. That, in other words, only sheker reaches the whole world, and Chutza can't, because it's MS. Is that what the Rebbeim said exactly? I never heard that from any Rebbe. You think when Avraham Avinu and Sarah set out in their pioneering journey 3,500 years ago, and there were just two Yechidim, Echad Avram, you think they thought that it's just going to be for a few Yechidim? They went to change the world, and today, I would say over 4 billion people on this planet know the name Abraham, not Lincoln, Abraham Avraham Avinu. That the major religions are all follow those teachings. I'm not saying they're perfect, but yeah, they became the biggest bestseller. As a writer, I can tell you that it's the biggest bestseller. Doesn't even hit the New York Times bestseller list. You know what it is? It's called the Bible. We call it Torah. It sells more books a week than all the books combined. So to say that the principles of Torah did not reach the large world, that's not true. It did. It changed the world. And if you look at the Rebbe Sichos, this is one of the topics me and Rav Garelik will talk about often, especially in the Mems, Tovshin Mems. There are over 800 pages where the Rebbe spoke, and we talked about this, purely about Sheva Mitzvah B'neiach, and the Rebbe said that this country, United States, for all its flaws, the Malchus Shel Chesed, and it's based on the Yesedis of Aseres HaDibros and Sheva Mitzvah B'neiach, and this country is the greatest superpower on earth. Because of that, these are the Rebbe's words, not mine. I'll tell you something even more that maybe some of you don't even know. You can check it out if you want fact-checking. Go to the Sikha Shabbos Pasha B'Shalach Tovshin Mem. Shabbos after Yud Shvat Shleshim Shana. The Rebbe became Nasi Tovshin Yud, Tovshin Mem, was 30 years. Shabbos after Yud Shvat, often the Giluyim of those Kufas sometimes would be more in the Shabbos after than in the day itself. So in that Sikha, yeah. So the Rebbe says there, these words. Tell you to see it inside, you won't believe it. He says that the Sefer Urim V'Tumim, Sefer Halacha, asks a question that when we learn a Rashi or a Rambam, and Medayik and their all the Diyukim, would the Rashi and Rambam know all the Diyukim that they would be learned by all the generations to come? And the answer is Yad Hashem, his skill, because they wrote it with Yiras Shamayim, so it has the gather of Torah. I call Masha Talmud Vasa L'Chadash Nikla Moshe Sinai. So even though Moshe himself didn't know everything, the story of the Gemara, they were surprised that Rabbi Akiva taught something then Rabbi Akiva said, Allah Moshe b'Sinai. Moshe himself was not begoli by him. So the Rashi and Rambam, not necessarily they knew, but the Eibishter blessed that the words they said, similar to what it says by David HaMelech on Tehillim. So he asked the Eibishter that it should be, that these words should be the words that the Yidden will always say. What's the posuk right in the beginning of in Tehillim? Come to me, I forgot the posuk. But Al-Kaponim, that's what the Urim answers. So the Rebbe said, Eba Zayim, Ali B'chira, that the Eibishter puts in a certain Ruach HaKodesh in them. So when they write their Chiburim, whatever Chiddush will say is Mechaven, how much more so in Ishbal B'chira, and he said the founding fathers of this country, the Eibishter put into them a sense that they should know what to write in the Declaration of Independence, in the Constitution of this country, that would be a country geboit on what the Eibishter wants. So the Rebbe says, look up the Sichel, B'Shalach Tav Shin Mem. You probably never heard this before, right? I think it's quite mind-blowing. The Rebbe is giving this country a certain divine so-called mandate. This doesn't mean everything in this country is perfect. It doesn't mean the human beings are perfect. The founding fathers were Bali Ben B'nai Adam and they made plenty of mistakes. But certain things were put into them, and if you think about it, I'm not here to come to talk about American virtues right now. Because in the Rebbe's words, you think about it, that this country is the country that called Malchus Shel Chesed, a country that became a haven for millions of Yidden. And you could say many things going on in the whole world would not exist if America did not have that support. And furthermore, the Rebbe himself, the Rebbe talks how much they became the host of Chabad. The Frierdiker Rebbe came to New York, and then the Rebbe. So what I'm trying to say is that the country, United States, from the Rebbe's point of view, is an expression of the values of Torah that have affected the rest of the world, the bigger world. So, to me, it's 100% clear that the Futsa Manasech Chutza doesn't just mean Kingston Avenue or Kfar Chabad or even Miran, but it means every corner of the earth. Now, this doesn't mean that until we reach one of the 8 billion people on earth, Shliach won't come Chad v'Shalom. No one ever said that. Because we don't know the tipping point. Could be just one more year to reach, one more goy to reach, and that's the tipping point. In Tanya he says clearly, when you bring a mincha selas, for example, you're ma'ila the whole min sameach. Doesn't mean you have to literally find every sameach on earth and make the bitter. You're mavada one, it affects the rest. And we don't know how much you need, so we have to keep doing it. But from our point of view, the goal has to be to reach every individual. So if you were to measure it, I'll go back to the audit. We did a business audit on the Futz Manasech Chutza. My report card would be one that I would not necessarily want to be the one stands in front of the Rebbe and say to the Rebbe that we really conquered all the marketplace, because we have not. And I could say this from my own personal experience. Yes, we've reached some people, we're reaching more. And just for the record, this does not mean Shulchan Manam Matzliach. Because remember, Matzal Nefesh Achas Yisrael, even one Yid, is Kol Elam Kula. We're not a numbers game. It's not a numbers game. So it could be one Yichot Shliach in one little city, reaches one Jew that can tip the scale also. My Sechet can be Machriya, the Rambam says, Kol Elam Kula, the Kavschus, the Tshuva, Atzola, etc. But from our point of view, our effort, there's no question that I cannot say with any good conscience that, yeah, I've done everything possible and we've done everything possible. So when I think about it, so I think Chayil, okay, it's almost 300 years, the Alter Rebbe's birthday. How much really has infiltrated the world? How many people even appreciate the Siddur? I know there's 60 people learning every morning in this shul. But 60 is a nice number, but there's also, more people in the world. And yes, I do reach personally more than 60 people. And we may even be reaching a few million people. But I don't think much more than that. And so I think from the day when the Rebbe said, Chav Ches Nisim, 2000 Sikent, in this regard, there's a lot of things that can be done. Like I said, the Metzdake put on film with Ayid,